Okay, let's wait a couple seconds to see if Heather comes on or if somebody else logs on. If not, I'll just go ahead and introduce you. All right. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start. We're waiting for Heather to come on here, but I guess she'll be on here soon to give the disclaimer. But my name's Alicia, and I'm here with Conscious Community Connections, and I'm having a discussion with Eddie Pratt about his life and his Facebook group, CU Human Rights Coalition. Correct? Yeah, and we're just gonna do. A little talk with him about his thoughts about champagne. Eddie has been working with Conscious Community Connections for a little bit, a few weeks or so, about maybe a month or something like that. On the sidelines, he's definitely been helping out with some of our community outreach, and he's been participating a lot in our discussions and giving some support. So it's good to kind of talk to him and spotlight what he's doing in the community and the things that he's here to add and to just kind of promote the cause of spreading social justice awareness. So, Eddie, let's go ahead and talk about what you or kind of where you come from, where you before you moved to Champaign. Where did you originally? Where are you originally from? And kind of talk about some of your life experiences, what you got kind of got you interested in wanting to be an activist. You have to unmute your mic.
Okay, there we go. Had a little bit of technical difficulties. uh, yeah, Eddie Pratt Jr. I am the creator, founder of the CU Human Rights Coalition. We have a Facebook page on Facebook if you want to go and look at that. But yeah, I was born in Detroit in '86 during the big crack epidemic. That's where it really blossomed at. It's something that people don't talk about a lot. But yeah, so like it was a crazy time to be, just alive anywhere, but to be black in a place like that during that time was really it was really, I could say, parts detrimental and both it gave me a inside track to uh, the effects of drug abuse and anti-blackness as a whole, because I got to see literally uh, those things take effect in my community and how it shaped my family life and lack thereof. Um, so I moved from Detroit when I was 14. I consider myself very lucky. A lot of kids that I grew up with, and ran the streets with, ended up taking the non-choice of ending up being on drugs, selling drugs, gangs, gun violence, all of that. And I moved to Alabama to live with my father and everything, and talk about a stark, culture shock. It was completely different than anything that I was used to. Uh, now I became really aware of my blackness once I got to Alabama. Uh, a lot of the things that I experienced down there helped to shape who I am today. Uh, be it from being profiled simply because of me being black in certain spaces, people's thoughts and feelings on what I'm doing or what I'm not doing or whatever. It it kind of burrowed into my mind that the first thing that I am is black. Regardless if I wanted to accept that or not, the first thing and the last thing that I'm judged on is my blackness. As unfair or, as um, prevalent as that may be, or obvious as that may be, because I mean, I'm obviously black, but uh, through my own experiences in which I've had a lot of different encounters with police, both there and in Detroit. And those things helped me to uh, find a pulse, per se, to what I felt needed to change. And I think my starting point, that really got me wanting to be into activism really is probably about the starting point for most people in America, going back to 2012 with the killing of Trayvon Martin. I think that was the part where I started to become even more aware of my blackness, because that, in the case of it and all the details of it, uh, made me extremely cautious because of my race and everything. It was like, whoa, I can literally die and there not be no consequences just because I'm black. I'm automatically seen as guilty. That didn't sit right with me. But, like a lot of people, we have all these distractions and everything else going in our lives. So we just keep on going, and then the cases start to pile up and everything. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back for me, which is probably the same for a lot of people, was the killing of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, you know, and those two things at the time at which they happened in my life was, I guess, it had to be a sign, because me and my fiance had just cut a vacation trip short in Florida. We were in Longboat Key. If you know where that is, that's an extremely rich, affluent part of Florida. You can guess who lives there. And that was right on the heels of the George Floyd killings and everything. And I was there. You know, I was raw. I was pretty raw on the inside, and just like a lot of people were, and so like I had, white people microaggressions towards me and everything, and I was like, okay, I don't feel safe in this space, and we packed up and we left. We were supposed to be there for 2 weeks. We ended up being there for like 3 days, but but yeah, so like I was at a point where I was really fed up, and I was like, I got to do something, like, because I'm a father. Um, my son is 13. You know, I have a little brother who's just turning 18 in a couple months, uh, and my little brother is in Alabama. And being young and black in a place like that, you know, it can be dangerous. I mean, just to put it plainly, it can be straight up dangerous. And the question that came to my mind was, am I gonna be okay leaving this world as it is to them? And the answer is absolutely not, because I'm not okay with living in this world the way it is right now. So if I want to make things better, if I want things to be, better for my kids, my little brother, and everyone else, then I got to be willing to put the work in. And so I made that commitment within myself, and that led ultimately to me forming the Facebook group, the CU Human Rights Coalition, and also reaching out to you guys and other activist groups in the area to for me to put in that work in all ways. Because I realized that, the system of anti-blackness is not just a local one or a national one. It's a global one, that the battlefield is everywhere, because anti-blackness is everywhere. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right about that. I agree with you. It is everywhere, and I can only imagine. I know what it's like for just the black race in general. What it feels like to feel like you're always targeted, but to specifically to be a black male, I mean, it just seems like black males have always been the number one target, or they've always been like the number one victim when it comes to police brutality. Or, in Trayvon Martin's case, it wasn't even the police. It was like a neighborhood watch, or a dude that claimed to be neighborhood watch that, shot him. So it's always like uh, black males being murdered in the thought of, we're doing this for justice. And that's like, what type of message is that giving out? That, like, we're having to shoot black men for justice. It's just like, it's it's really, it's inhumane, I feel like. So I can just imagine what you were feeling then, during all that. If we can go back and you tell us a little bit about, you were in the army for a bit, right? And how was your experience there? Like, was your experience there, did it help you kind of shape this like desire, or help like kind of cultivate, or grow this desire to be an activist? Or was it something that was there all along?
Well, it's a funny thing about the army. Like, my father uh, is a career Army sergeant, and so he's been in the Army is about as long as I've been alive, a little bit longer actually. And I've had sporadically a few family members here and there in the armed forces. So, like, growing up with that, I was already um, pretty oriented with military life and everything. And at the time, uh, what brought me to the military was the fact that, like, I had a son coming into the world, and I was working at a bowling alley as a pin setter mechanic, back in 2005, making minimum wage basically. Back then was like 5.35, 5.25, something like that. So I'm young. I'm just making just enough to, have a roof over my head and everything like that. And I was like, I got to step things up. And so, I didn't have any money for, to go to school or anything like that, to have, resources available to make a better living. So I was like, well, this is what I'm gonna do. But as far as like how that links to what I feel about activism and everything, that goes to the actions of police. Is I was trained to be a soldier. I was also a CO for a little while I was in Alabama. So I literally trained at the police academy and learned all of their tactics as far as, use of force, escalation of force, what is allowed, what isn't allowed, what are you liable for and what you aren't, you know. And and so when I see these cases in which uh, police are not being held accountable for their actions, I do have somewhat of an inside track on knowing whether or not, from the facts presented, if those things actually go against, the use of force standards that they create. Yeah, go ahead, Alicia.
I'm sorry, everybody. I'm having like really bad feedback with my mic, so I have to raise my hand and mute my mic and all that stuff. So I'm sorry if you're seeing that. That's kind of what's that's what's going on. But that's interesting that you said that you trained with the police, like at their academy, and you kind of learned the things that they know. What are some things that you are like noticing or that you've seen so far, in particular in Champaign County? If you can talk to this, might not be able to, of what you think that is being done inappropriately, or that you kind of notice that have been done inappropriately, or you're thinking they might be doing it inappropriately, just from your own knowledge.
Well, where I would have to start at, and this is actually like recent research that I've been doing. I looked up the Urbana police, use of force policy, and just in laws and in policies, the devil's in the language. So in that language, there's nothing particularly uh, rigid in it. It leaves a lot of room for speculation and assumption as far as the police officer's thoughts and the actions that go along with them. So so, and so within that, uh, it leaves basically all the decision making to be up with that police officer, not taking in account for their own level of bias, not taking account for the situation at hand. They're not even there's nothing in it about de-escalation. And when you give people that type of leeway without any kind of real accountability or a real rigid set of actions for certain responses, then you have situations in which that we've all seen across the country, as far as police just opening fire on people, specifically black people. It's not to say that it only happens to black people, because it happens to everyone of every race, and that makes it that much more perverse, and they're not being held accountable. And then even when they are investigated, they're investigated by police who are unionized. They're going to protect their best interest. So if you're asking, an inside entity to a person who has, done such a thing, don't be surprised when they justify it, you know, and that's exactly what has happened. Yeah, go ahead, Alicia.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I'm so happy that you're bringing that up, and that you've said that about the vagueness of the way that a lot of these policies are written, and a lot of the way that the laws are written, where they're left to interpretation. That anybody reading this law can interpret it the way that they see fit. That's a problem when it comes to communication with the public. I can read the law and interpret it one way, but the police officer can read the law and interpret it another way, and that could make me guilty, or to where I'm on grounds to get arrested, and I wouldn't even know that. And I think it almost feels like a setup, does it not? Why would you do that? Why would you make it so vague? And you can't. And the reason why it's important, and reason why vagueness is so important when writing laws and policies, is just that. Um, people di- People interpret things differently, and their interpretation is based off of, one, their knowledge, their life experience, whatever bias they have going on there, because not everybody possesses the same type of knowledge, not everybody possesses the same type of life experiences, and the knowledge and life experiences will affect one's, or play into one's biases, right? So I totally understand, and I'm so happy that you said that because I think that's something that people don't recognize. That it's so open for anybody to read and misinterpret. Um, and you're right. I do agree with having the police judge and do the investigation on the police. It's like their own kind. You know, it's almost like it's like why it's almost like ratting out your family or like ratting out your like your friend group. That's hard to do. You know what I'm saying? And you would probably want to justify that. Oh, I know that person. I know they wouldn't do that. Or, oh, well, I know that they wouldn't say it like that. Or they didn't mean it like that. That's too much. Don't tell me that doesn't happen. It does. You know? And I think that's the problem. It's getting to the point where the police are becoming like a good old boy club, and then it's like the rest of the like the community. Like there's like a break there, and it really to me in my mind it does boil down to police conduct and the way the police treat themselves, the people that are part of their club, and then everybody else. And if in my mind, if I'm thinking, if the community wants to create some type of bond, some type of solution here, something here to build some type of positive rapport, how do they do that? How do they do that when there's no trust? How do they do that when there's no like how do you build rapport when there's no trust? Well, you don't have trust here because you're looking out for your own and you're not necessarily doing what you said you were going to do or what we thought you were going to do, what we interpreted you to do, which was protect and serve. You know what I mean? So let me know if you have anything, you have something to add. Let me mute my mic real quick.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with what you're saying. You're right on. You're right on. Yeah, like there's a lot of outside circumstances that go into the act of policing, you know, and we have to look at it from all angles. The way I see it, like the legacy of policing is tied to slave patrols. And then when you think about that, and you think about how police actually patrol neighborhoods, what neighborhoods are they most present in? Where are the arrests actually coming from? What are the arrests actually for? It paints a picture that is horrific. Excuse me. It's terrible at best. It's terrible. You know, I just did a video a few days ago, well, almost a week ago, about the stats in Champaign County as far as arrest racially, and the results were fear-inducing, if I could say anything else. You know, like from 2013, 67.8% of people admitted to state prisons in Illinois were black. The Champaign County Jail maintains at least 50% black population rate consistently, and you think about, how many of us are actually here in Champaign County. We only make up for 13% of the population, and then what really ties it together for me is like, you have, yeah, sure, you should follow the law. You should, do the right thing and everything. And those who do break it should be held accountable for the most part. But then there's little things that aren't really, they're not violent crimes in the least bit, and they're not they're victimless crimes like jaywalking. If we didn't have a racial problem in our policing in our community, then why in the world is it 88% black people being arrested, not ticketed, arrested for jaywalking? Why is it 91% in the city of Champaign? You know, this is something that, police do not have to actually even ticket you for. It's victimless. Who cares if you cross at the stoplight or in the middle of the street, as long as you're not, causing an accident, no harm, no foul, right? But instead, they see you, they immediately criminalize you, put you in jail. Now you got to bond out and everything. And knowing that there's so many of us within this little 13% that live under the poverty line, and then there's so many of us that live just barely above it, and that's the case for a lot of people here. Being set back $300-400 is a big deal. And it's literally the for a lot of people the distance between being able to pay your bills and being homeless. As if, being homeless isn't a crime, because it is. It's called vagrancy. So it literally creates a trap. And is I don't like quoting rappers or rap culture all that much when I'm talking about these things, but that there's a reason why they call it the trap. Because it's a trap. We're out here in this this landmine infested battlefield, trying to tiptoe from to get to where we're trying to get to, with all of these traps all around us. You evade one trap, there's another trap beside it, for another trap, for another trap. And it's hard to move forward with any kind of real speed of any kind, or make any kind of real progress, when you're constantly looking out for all of these traps that have been set for you. And so when I think about police reform and the whole defunding the police thing, and the last discussion you guys had, it was really nail on the head. I loved every bit of it, and it gave me some real food for thought. Because like I said before, anti-blackness is everywhere, right? So, that's in our doctors, in the hospital fields. That's it's in policing, it's in education, so we can't just defund the police and replace it. We're not really fixing the problem there, so, like, I believe that we have to have more rigorous vetting of police applicants, from a psychological standpoint, from a social standpoint. We have to find out, are these people affiliated with any kind of hate groups or anything like that? Is there anything in their background that will point to any kind of implicit bias that would actually serve to to be counterproductive to being able to serve the entire community at large? We have to look at the amount of training that these people have. Lawyers got to go, prospective lawyers got to go to school for 8 years to be able to practice law. But you can walk around with a badge and a gun with just 8-12 weeks of training. We lead the world in police killings. Meanwhile, there's other countries in which they require their officers to have criminal justice degrees, 3 to 4 years of training, and they have a tenth of the killings. Like, apparently, we've been doing this wrong for a long time. But what I think,
Let me say something.
uh, what I think is really telling is that it's not just that we've been doing it wrong. They know that we've been doing it wrong, and they're just continuing. But I saw your hand, Alicia. You can go ahead.
No, I was trying to say something. So we had a comment, and someone was saying, basically, since the prison industrial complex is a for-profit industry, the country has to create criminals, and vague laws really help do that. All right. So I just wanted to say that yes, it is 8:30. I want to say this is Conscious Community Connections, where we keep the community connected. This is 104.5 FM, Urbana-Champaign. All right, views expressed are those of the speakers and are not intended to represent WRFU, UC, IMC, or Urbana Socialist Forum. You had some great points there. And I do understand the frustration between all three of us, where black is a crime, and it's been a crime for the longest. We we are always on the front line. Period. With every and any issue in America, it's always pointing back towards what racism has done to Americans in general. Because I'm tired of saying like black and brown and African American and all this stuff. I'm American, period. It doesn't matter what color, what hair I got, whatever it is. I was born here. I can't go nowhere else. All right. I'm here. This is where my people were. And I don't know if my people were slaves or not, but it doesn't matter. They've been here for years. We just need to stop lying about half of the stuff that the kids are learning. Tell them the truth. We need to put it plain as day. I'm reading a book about art. In the first chapter, it didn't say anything about African art, anything about Black American, nothing. Everything was European and all of the other French and British and all of these things. When we do know that African art paved the way for every and anything. So why leave that part out? Stop leaving this information out. It's hurting everyone. And it's like, oh, who invented this? Or, oh, I didn't know about that. No, duh. They left it out on purpose. Maybe start teaching and reforming education and the police. All the reform everyone needs training. Everybody needs to keep learning and growing and diversifying, because I can't say that it's okay for you to take a 10-minute course or a 30-minute course on diversification and say that you're ethically okay to go out there and talk to people. It's not cool. Not cool at all. And the lady that is very good about that, I think her name is Jane Elliott. She's been saying this for so long. She's a short, sweet lady, but she's tired of how people approach others in general. I should say others that don't look like them. She was taking a stand. She looked like she about 3 feet tall, but would stand up and tell people like, you need to stop doing this to people. Because once we do it to you, you're going to feel like, oh, I need to go back in my shell. No, you've been doing this for all these times and these years. And you really think I want to be rebellious and try to be revengeful? I don't have time to be revengeful. Just give me what I deserve. Freedom of speech, free to live, and free to be Black, because I was born this way. It's not my fault that I have more melanin than you. It's not my fault. It's not my fault at all. I'm part of the indigenous crowd, and that's it. It is what it is. But don't let me get all in there. This ain't even my interview, okay? I'm gonna let somebody else talk.
No, Heather, you were right. I'm glad that you spoke. I'm glad that you said your piece. You're right about that. I agree, and I think that's what me and Eddie are both saying, that it's a societal reform that needs to happen for sure. And it says something when we have a president that wants to take funding away from the Chicago school education system for trying to teach the 1619 curriculum. And I think that's what you're talking about, right? And that says something. But you're right. If we have a president that's going to do that, then how can we really work on police reform? I mean, I think people need to know this and note this, that police were meant to be slave catchers. That's what they did. They caught runaway slaves. That is still ingrained. I talked about that when we talked about structural racism. The residue of stuff like that, it's still here. It hasn't gone away. If it wasn't here, we wouldn't be talking here. We wouldn't have this conversation if it wasn't needed. Most people don't want to walk around talking about racism. Believe it or not, people don't want to be a victim. It's draining. It's exhausting. And I, for one, don't look at myself as a victim. I, for one, look at myself as a survivor, because, I mean, if you think about it, my ancestors, survived that boat and survived all that torture and slavery, and I'm here today. Like that's survival. That's strong genes. So I don't think black people, I think that needs to be said. Black people don't look at themselves as being victims, but instead they look at themselves as a race of people that deserve to have their spot. They were noticed. We need to be noticed. We need to be acknowledged. I was actually having a conversation with a friend before I started this discussion or this interview with you tonight, Eddie. And I was talking to her, and she was saying, this is what she said. She said, I don't think that there will be a lot of change happening right now, but at least she said it'll be out in the open. It'll be out in the front. And I think, in my mind, that's a really good step forward, because no longer are we going to be able to hide behind or have to be forced to ignore or to act like it's not happening when it is. Now we're calling it out and saying what it is. If you're going to treat people in an unjust way, then I'm going to let you know that I know that that's what's happening. And I think there's power within that. And I think it's power that we're becoming more empowered now when we're speaking out against the police and we're asking for policy reform, because that, I think, is what really needs to happen. Along with the vetting that you were talking about, there really needs to be a different set of policies put in place. Like, what is the rules? Like, what are the guidelines or the policies that the police go by in which they're thought that they have to, or whatever they say is law? Like, how come they get away with things that we don't get away with? Why? That is not fair, and that plays into that lack of accountability. And I think there needs to be some type of reform or a change in policy with that. I think you said something about, I don't know. I can't remember what you're saying. You're saying so much information. I was going to try to write it down, but I was so into the conversation, what you were saying. But I think you said something about, I can't remember. I'm not going to start saying stuff that I'm not going to start saying I can't remember. So anyway, Eddie, you have something to say? Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, there has to be, a lot of changes within the way that, policing happens. And that is more than obvious now. But we also have to remember is that, and just like Heather was saying, the same forces that did what they did to Black people are the same forces that propagate everyone, that creates all of these set biases. And these same people who were propagated against, some of them become police. Some of them are literally a part of white supremacist ideology with the goal of being in law enforcement or law in the law field of any kind, specifically just to further the agenda of anti-Blackness. Like, I've encountered these people, and again, this is extremely harmful to people at large, and these people are having kids, just when we thought, hey, maybe racism might be over with, then Charlottesville happened, and then, just like you said, we got a president who is quick to be critical about Black people empowering themselves and wanting to be treated fairly, and is slow to call out white supremacy for what it is. What did he say? He said that there were good people on both sides. Like, no, you had people who were for equal rights on one side, and you had people flying the Nazi flag on the other. Those are not good people, and you got to call those people out. So like one of the things I've done, like at least personally, is I have made a resolution within myself to to confront these people and things when I see them, wherever I see them, because at the very least, we got to make them uncomfortable. At the very least, we got to make them uncomfortable. It may be scary to do sometimes and everything because we know what's on our side and what's against us, but it's absolutely imperative that we do. I believe that we need to do so in all shapes and forms and sizes, including, voting, being aware of the candidates that are, and what platforms are they running under, who is supporting these people, and what are they looking to change? Like we could talk about being, anarchists and trying to, wanting to destroy the system. And surely, as unhappy as I am and millions of others are, nothing is going to happen in one day or a week. Change is going to be slow. Changes always have been slow. So it's go ahead, Heather. I saw you had your hand up.
I don't like this hand stuff. Golly, I just want to jump in, you know? But anyway, we have some comments and stuff like that. But I have a comment, and he said the key word there, spot. I don't know what he's trying to say. Kee-Kee, just get it together. All right. So stop trying to be accepted by other races that don't want them. So we need to stop doing that. And then I have another comment that says more visibility makes it harder for teachers to teach whitewash curricula. We gotta put the pressure on K through 12 teachers and administrators to radically revise how they teach everything, but especially history and literature. That is true. Very, very, very true. There's a book, I think it's called like you need to relearn or unlearn or relearn. I think it's a book that's called that. I don't know for sure, but basically that's what it is. We need to like unlearn some of that bull crap and relearn it, because I remember at a certain point in time, I was like, oh, okay, cool with the pilgrims and stuff like that, until I finally realized what happened on the Thanksgiving Day, were they really celebrating? Probably not. I don't think so. Not after you done killed all the buffalo and the indigenous people that were here. Lies. All right. Anyway, in order to change, we have to change our people's way of thinking and take our communities and focus on our needs and stop looking for others to help. Great, Kee-Kee. Thank you. But yes, let someone else say something.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. Shoot, the nail is hit right on the head on that. No one's gonna come save us, and if that was gonna be the case, it would have happened already. So we got to empower ourselves. And it's not as if we don't have the means to do so. We pump billions into the economy, yearly, despite not even being half of the population. We have that power. And one of the things that we definitely got to do, we got to vote. And sure, you can talk about the electoral college and everything like that, but people need to dig a little bit deeper and find out, just exactly how the electoral college operates. And there you can understand that, your vote really matters. Who you vote for in local elections absolutely matters, on the state level. And then, the presidency. All of these things shape the world around us, and these are the people that are going to be advocating for or against policies that's going to help or destroy the Black community. And so yeah, we definitely gotta hold them accountable. Oh, go ahead, Alicia.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. If we want to really make change here, we want everything that we're working for, everything that we're protesting for or against. If we want that, then if we want that to if we want that to continue forward or keep the momentum going, that's not gonna matter. We can yell in the streets as much as we want to, but if we don't got the right people in office, that's gonna help us move our agenda forward. We're gonna be yelling in the streets forever. you know and that's important to mention now that this is an election year. And we're not just talking about a national election. Like you said, we're talking about local people here. What is who is in our offices right now on our city councils? What have they done? How have they reacted to this? That's stuff that people need to think about and look at. you know how is their relationship with the police departments? And then how is their relationship with the community? Who has ever came up off their little throne or pedestal and came down to the community and had a conversation? Who's done that? Who's done that yet? And if and while they're doing it, if they ever have done it, or if they're planning on doing it, will they be able to be humble enough to take the answers and not feel like you were saying, Heather, offensive, get all offended, and realize that this is the truth, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, and we deserve to have justice here and equality, like you said, Eddie. We're like, no one's asking to be saved. No one's asking for a handout. Okay. We just want equality. We want equality. And the fact that we have to go through this to get something that should have been given to us because we are from here and we're born here, it's ridiculous and it's shameful. And if anybody that's upholding that agenda, they need to be called out for who they are. And it needs to be brought to the forefront. Like I said before, if nothing's going to change, at least that. Call a spade so we know who you are. None of this undercover stuff. So, Heather, do you want to ask him a question about his future? Do you have a specific question you want to ask him? Okay.
All right, so Eddie, we didn't talk and stuff like that and chatted, but like what's your goals? What's your future? As far as like who you are and being a man in Champaign for a couple of years. Like, are you trying to do something radical? Are you just trying to, I don't know. You let us know what you got on your plate, because usually we talk to business owners and stuff like that, but I want to start, at least interviewing more people that they don't necessarily have a business, but they are out here actually doing some work.
Yeah. So, I'm community focused, number one. Everything that happens in a nation and in our communities starts in a community first and then goes outward. So that's my approach first off. And then as far as what I'm doing personally and the moves that I'm making, I'm going to continue to try to foster relationships with all the different groups in the area. I'm not going to get the naming off names for right now or anything. Protect their anonymity and everything. But the general focus for me is as I'm becoming more aware of these other groups and starting to work with all of these groups and initiatives, is that and like I said, combating anti-blackness is a very vast system of network of different things. So fighting it from all types of angles, be it political action, grassroots activism, challenging our education systems, challenging our police, and just being more active in the things that is going on in this community and promoting that everyone else should be too, and bringing to light the things that people are not particularly aware of that's going on, not just here, but, in the country. And, just trying to get people, to, pick up their weapons, pick up their weapons per se. And when I say weapons, I mean, pick up your mind, get your feet up, you know what I'm saying? And, make a little bit of time and get out here and, put in some of the work, because there's a lot of groups out here that's really doing positive things in the community that are really unsung and not getting a lot of the exposure that they should be. And it's imperative that we all play our part, because we all have a part to play. From the biggest stages to the smallest of ones. Don't be coming in this for a participation trophy. Come in to want to shape the world that you would want to be in. And that's my thoughts on it. And, so like a lot of things I'm not particularly caring for, like, I don't particularly care for social media and all of that, but yeah, I'm gonna be creating a Twitter and Instagram and YouTube page for my group, the CU Human Rights Coalition, and broadening our message out there and everything, and try to get more people involved. I'm already partnered with a few groups that across the state and everything, and trying to create a wall per se of people and groups that want positive change. And it's great that everyone's putting in this work and being autonomous and everything. That's great, but how much stronger would we be if we were all working in concert of each other? To be able to, hey, do you have this resource to help me accomplish this that goes along with our shared goals? I think that would help us in tremendous, monumental ways. And so, unity, getting that numbers game up, is definitely important to me, because what we're fighting against is extremely vast, and it weaponizes itself in lots of ways. So that's something I'm definitely, looking forward to doing and definitely being a part of. I'm thankful, for you guys reaching out to me and everything like that. I love you people, and yeah, I just want to keep fighting, because, if I'm gonna, finally draw my last breath one day, I want to at least have the luxury of being able to say, I did what I could. You know, I can't I can't sleep at night knowing otherwise. I can't rest peacefully knowing otherwise. So, yeah, it's important. It's an extremely important thing to me. It's I treat it like it's life and death, because it is. Because not doing anything literally leads to people dying. Silence is violence. You know, you know, complacency breeds contempt. These things ring true. So, I just try to remain active. I'm not out here trying to get rich off of this. I'm not trying to make any money off of this. I don't want even donations, really. I just want to, work with everyone that is really trying to bring about change in the community and encourage other people to get in it. And one of the things that I want to do is I want to organize something for the homeless. Especially with COVID going on right now, as much as elderly people and the young are really the most susceptible. We also have people that are in those groups who are homeless, and you think about how the lack of resources there can make you even more at danger. In which I talk to a lot of homeless people. I'd actually talk to more homeless people than I do talk to anyone else, if I'm being honest. And I try to do what I can when I see them. But one of the things I want to do is I want to develop a, say, be it a day or weekend or whatever, and because I see where a lot of them congregate and everything like that. I know a lot of them by first name basis, and they know me when they see me. But you know, one of the things that would help you to be able to withstand this sickness is your health in all ways. And so physically, if you're struggling to eat, your immune system is breaking down, making you more likely for you to catch this virus and not be able to fight it off. Not having a mask, just little simple things like that. I know it's not going to fix everything, but I want to help those people because I mean, y'all don't know this about me, but I don't mind sharing it. Like I've been homeless before. I've been homeless as a kid before. I've been homeless as a young adult before, and those experiences really brought me down to earth. Because no one's too far away from it happening to them. You know, and the facts are is that for a lot of families, if the breadwinner misses 2 or 3 days of work in the same week, game over. Game over. Everybody's out on the street. And so I want to lend aid to those people. Get them toiletries and everything of that nature and everything. Get them some masks. Give them a meal and everything. Blankets if I can. And so that's one of the things that I'm going to be definitely devoting a lot of my time to going forward, because the CU Human Rights Coalition, we're not just about one linear thing. I'm trying to fight this from all kinds of angles. So be it equal rights for LGBTQT, equal representation in all forms of government. One thing that I found pretty problematic is pertaining to the police, because I mean that's what this is about and everything. Police reform. It's both Urbana and Champaign have a citizen committee on use of force. Neither one of them have a black person on that committee, despite the fact that we make over 50% of their arrests and bookings. And that is not right. That has to change. If you're going to continue to, criminalize black bodies, you better at least be, consorting with those same black bodies about what you're doing to figure out if you're really doing something wrong. But that's all besides the point, because the stats that I can provide are public knowledge. So it's not to say it as if they don't know what they're doing. They do know, and they're relying on people being too distracted to say or do anything about it. And so we got to get out the habit of living within our bubble. We got to burst our own bubbles. And look at the world around us, look at our community around us, and start putting in that work. And on the political side, like it's not enough to just be like I'm gonna vote Democrat. It's not enough. It's not enough to say, well, the Democrats haven't done us right, I'm gonna vote Republican. It's not enough, because left wing, right wing, it doesn't matter when the bird is white supremacy. It doesn't matter. You choose your master, you're gonna die by that sword either way. So if we know that both parties have done us wrong and don't really have our best interests at heart, then maybe it's about time that we mobilize something different. It's the only reason a two-party system actually exists in this country is because we let it. We choose what we get behind, and we can push that. We can change everything. So, and we got to get to the point of being really confrontational with these political people in office. Let them know, like, hey, if you're not serving the interests of the people at large, we're not going to let you be here. We're going to vote you out and put somebody in there that's going to do it. And so yeah, we definitely got to do that. Um, and outside of political arenas, we have to be cognizant of what it, what the social climate is and what we can do to change it. Like you can't. What I do understand is you can't change everyone's mind, but what you can do, in my opinion, is change your own. You can do that research. You can find those answers. We literally walk around every day, all day, with the entire vastness of human knowledge in our pockets. About maybe it's about time we do more with it than post up on Instagram or watch cat videos on Facebook. Yeah. Go ahead, Ellen.
All right, so yes, it is time for me to just read the disclaimer real quick. This is Conscious Community Connections, 104.5 FM, Urbana-Champaign. Views expressed are those of the speakers and are not intended to represent WRFU, UC, IMC, or Urbana Socialist Forum. I do have two comments, and they were later on, but I just wanted to address it. So you have to stop worrying about the president election and worry about senators and Congress who have been in office since Jim Crow laws and education. So our people on local election, we need to start focusing on them because yes, they do. They are the majority, and which I had to, do some education, on my end to like really figure out who's making those laws because everybody keeps saying the president, the president. No, he's only one person and he signs off on certain things, but he doesn't make the laws. He doesn't, do those things. That's not his job. He's just like the CEO of the company. He signs off, he looks over the budget, that type of stuff. Okay, it is what it is, and that's it. But if majority rules and other things, he's irrelevant. You get what I'm saying? So we need to understand and go back through those things. Now, that is one thing that they did teach you in school, but hey, to our liking, we don't like that stuff. We don't want to hear about those things. So another comment, I have to read this. It's kind of long, but it says, Heather, I'm thinking about your comments regarding your being a native born American. It reminded me of a critic that David Walker, a Black Bostonian activist, made in 1828. Do not actions speak louder than words? Have they Americans not made provisions for the Greeks and Irish, nations who have been done the least thing for them, while we who have enriched their country with our blood and tears have dug up gold and silver for them and their children from generation to generation, and are in more miseries than any other people under heaven are not seen, but comparatively a handful of the American people. So she put a long quote on there, but it was a great point. Where have they or Americans not made provisions for the Greeks and Irish? They have made all these provisions for other people, but yet we are still always left out in the history books, in the whatever books that they have in front of my children now today. It's always some type of French or British or some other European race that have paved what Americans should do, what they should see, what they should look like, all these things. But yet, where did they get these ideas from? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, where? Where did they come from? They just came out of nowhere, out of the sky. Some of this stuff has nothing new is under the sun. Period. Nothing. It's all in a cycle. If you look at art, you can see that, hey, they copied, they paste whatever it was, things that happened years ago. It's nothing new under the sun at all. So it's all cycle. It's all in a cycle. And so we're still fighting and doing this same battle to this day that happened 50 years ago. 100, 150, 1,000, all of these things keep repeating itself. But human error, is having us think like, oh man, did we forget something? Yeah, we forgot to read the history and learn from it. That's what we forgot to do. The answer is in the history. It's in the books, all of these things. And I don't know, but anyway, back to you, Mr. Eddie. Back to you. One more question. I probably think of some more, but I know you talk about a lot of activist things and how you want to basically just volunteer your time, and how you really care about your people, but we need to talk about this gun violence, period, and how they do the verbiage of black on black crime. Does it really exist? what does black on black crime really mean? Because they never say Chinese American crime on Chinese American crime, however you want to put it, white on white crime. And yeah, can you clear that up for me? Yeah.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's a narrative that I, for one, am extremely tired of, and it's not honest. It's not honest in the least bit. Because I mean, there's facts around crime that people tend to leave out when they talk about that. Like, crime is where desperation meets lack of opportunity. If you got kids at home and everything, and you ain't making enough to pay your bills, them bill collectors ain't gonna say, "Oh, okay, well, you be out. We'll hold off on shutting off your lights and everything till you get yourself together." No, they want their money, and they don't care where it comes from. And so, are you gonna let your kids starve and be out in the cold, or are you gonna make something shake? It doesn't matter who you are. Anybody can relate to that. But outside of that is the fact that because the relation of desperation and lack of opportunity. Part of that desperation is you're gonna commit that. If you're gonna commit a crime, it's gonna be towards someone that's close to you. And the facts of the matter is that most racial groups tend to live amongst themselves. So if you're white, the likelihood of that person committing crime against you being white is extremely high. And stats reflect this, that every racial group, the number one perpetrator racially of crime against them are their own kind. And so when that narrative shows itself and people try to push that narrative, it's dismissive of crime in itself and tries to put a blame on just black people, and it's not particularly fair. And then it furthers the propagation, machine and everything. And that also leads to, false criminalization of black bodies. Like, what happened to George Floyd, like, yeah, the knee on the neck was evil, sure. But what about the store owner that just saw him writing a check and immediately thought, oh, there's no way he has the money to cover this. No, I know that's a fake check. Let me call the police. Turns out the check was good, and what happened to him? He's no longer with us. Elijah McClain, minding his own business, never did anything to hurt anybody. Profiled because he was wearing a ski mask. Gone. Just the sheer danger that is presented by the propagation machine that feeds bias and makes bias can lead to the death of people that look like me and y'all. And it's important for people to realize that when these intrusive thoughts come in, they're like, you need to address that. And if you're a bystander and you see these things, you need to say something. because the stakes are too high. The stakes are way too high, and again, that same implicit bias is present in how the police handle these altercations. So if, and it's not too far to say because I've seen it happen, but if a white woman were to call in to the police department and say that she was afraid for whatever reason or another and describe me as a black man, I would be willing to bet the police will show up within 2 minutes. Now, what I've also experienced living in Detroit, when someone is a victim of gun violence or of any kind of violence or any kind of problem, I've seen police drag their feet for hours. So yeah, on a social standpoint, on a personal standpoint, we gotta be vigilant, and we gotta keep calling these people out. As if we don't, that could be another person gone. Because as much as we constantly see this in the news, there are definitely some common denominators in the midst of that. Like, these people are dying, but there's also witnesses, multiple witnesses, and you got to be willing to do something about it. One of the people that really inspired me is Malcolm X, and one of the things that he said, you can't separate peace from freedom because no one can be at peace unless he has his freedom. When we're talking about things like civil rights and everything like that, if we are not afforded the same amount of justice and protection, safety, you are at war. Be it within yourself, in your neighborhood, in your city, in your country, you are at war. And the fact of the matter is that Black people for more than 400 years have been at war in this country. And we're not trying to be at war. We just want to live. And that seems to be an issue for those that are in power, be it in the police department or in Washington or, in your state capitals. Oh, go ahead, Heather. Or whichever one of y'all want to go. Okay. But yeah, so yeah, I'm devoted to calling these folks out. Because we got
Go ahead, Alicia.
yeah, we got to. Did anybody else want to go? You just want me to keep talking? Because
I'm sorry. See, I didn't understand who was going what, but I do have a question. So first of all, you preach it tonight, so everything you hit on was. Thank you for saying all of that. I think it needed to be solidified and put out there for a lot of people. But I want to know. You talked a little bit about like what you are doing with Human Rights Coalition. I want to know then what are your like future plans for like what are you expecting to then now work on in the future? Is it just working on gaining more momentum in the community or continuing motivating people? What's your next plan for that platform?
yeah, so like I said before, I'm community focused first, and I think it kind of tells in the name, But yeah, I'm wanting to both educate and mobilize people, and get them to look at at their neighborhoods and look at their governments and be able to see things for what they are and help them to to find productive ways in which to try to change that. Be it that running for city council is something that a lot of people actually can do. It just turns out that you only have to live in whatever ward around here for a year, and if we're being honest, because this is stuff that I found out about, is that voting for those local offices is not that hard to do. It's not that hard to get into office. A lot of the wards here received the last election received less than 400 votes per ward. So getting out there and doing the work and everything, it's possible. It's possible. If we don't trust the people that's in office now, we can change that. We have the power now. We don't have to wait, nor should we. And if those people in which one of the things I started doing, and something I encourage a lot of people to do, is to start sitting in on these council meetings, because they're public. They're public. They have them on Zoom every other week, and you can find out what they're talking about doing and everything. These are the people that are making decisions in your neighborhoods, about a lot of different things. Be it COVID, be it shut off be it shut offs and all of that and everything, and extending when those shut offs actually come out to notice, when they actually stop, and all of these things that are really important to everyone here are being decided on a local level. And so I definitely encourage people to really get themselves into what's going on in their local political offices and everything. And, if you want to create change, you can. And we can do this now. We don't have to wait. You can find out who these people are. You can find out what they're about, what platforms they're running on, what are they for, what are they against. You can find all of this stuff out pretty easily, but it just a matter of taking the time to do so. Go ahead, Heather.
So can you let me know, like, what's your three like main or big topics that you are, like pushing for, or that your coalition is pushing for? Like I know I'm advocating for, youth off top, but what are you advocating for? Can you name like two or three topics that you are really like passionate about, and or your coalition?
Oh yeah, definitely. One is police reform and accountability throughout the police department. Be it the county and both municipal departments. Another thing that's really big for me is ending uh, property tax funded public schools, because to me that furthers the racist backdraft of what the New Deal has done. And because the New Deal shaped both suburbs and ghettos. And so when you have a school in a low income area where people don't own their houses, those property taxes do not go to those neighborhoods, and thus the funding is not equal in those schools versus more affluent areas. And that in turn puts kids at a disadvantage who don't they don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. It's putting people behind, and like to further on that point, we have to take a look at how teaching is actually working, how public school actually working. The prison, the pipeline, prison pipeline is real. When you look at certain little facts about how public school, has students to act, there's a lot of symmetry with prison. Wearing one uniform, walking single file, sitting in rows, no acknowledgement until you raise your hand. All of these things are prevalent in prisons. I mean, the fact of the matter is we were all taught to be submissive, and we see this happening on the day to day when the same people that are both being propagated against and planned against literally back their oppressors. Because I mean, it's more than just black and brown bodies that are being oppressed. We're all being oppressed. If you're not a part of that 1% and you're in that 99, then guess what? You're being oppressed, and that's the facts. Another thing, like I said before, I want to be as hopeful to families and people who find themselves in homelessness, and continue to work with the community on the solutions that we can formulate to try to end homelessness. And if that means partnering with local businesses that are here and corporations and all of that, though I'd rather just deal with the people. If whatever help that we can get them to alleviate that and prevent that, because I don't want to just be reactive. I want to work in a preventive type of aspect. It's because I don't want to be trapped trying to react to a problem that's not being solved. And so yeah, just trying to be smart about that, trying to be as effective as possible, and trying to end homelessness, and in all of those different ways. And I think they all tie together. And oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we're approaching time, and I didn't know, Heather, if you want to go ahead and do another disclaimer and close us out. Okay. I really appreciate it, Eddie. Really, honestly, it was great to have you on here and sharing all your knowledge and all your experiences, and really breaking it down for everybody. Go ahead, Heather.
Well, my little last disclaimer. So, this is Conscious Community Connections 104.5 FM, Urbana Champaign. Views expressed are those of the speakers and are not intended to represent WRFU, UC, IMC, or Urbana Socialist Forum. I do believe we may can get a few more words from Alicia and Eddie, but I don't have too much to say. So.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. It was really great being on. A couple groups I want to shout out. I want to shout out to all my people that's affiliated with my group, the CU Human Rights Coalition. You can find us on Facebook. I'm Eddie Pratt Jr. So friend me up, inbox me, whatever you want to do. I'm always, open to talk, and, try to work on, solutions of, as far as it comes to, human rights and the things that are important in our community. I want to give a shout out to the progressive Democrats of Illinois. I'm usually not for or advocate for any one political side or anything like that, but this particular group of people are really trying to push for things that that would help us all, and that's what I'm about. As we're no stronger than our weakest link, and so the most vulnerable among us, if we're not willing to fight for them, then what are we actually doing? So yeah. Outside of that, the CCARC, it's beautiful working with those guys, and the things that they're trying to push for in the community. I know they're getting a lot of flack from certain individuals. I won't say I'm not gonna just throw anybody under the bus or anything like that. I still do got to keep it PG, right? So yeah, I just want to thank all the people that support the cause and that are really working to create positive change for everyone in the community. And thank you guys for having me on. You know, it's always great to talk to y'all. I enjoy my conversations with you guys and everything, and I look forward to working with y'all a little bit more closely in the future. So, yeah, thank you.
Definitely, for sure. It's been a pleasure. Eddie, we really do appreciate you coming on and helping us just talk about everything that's been going on. And we definitely appreciate your work with us, you know, in the community and things like that. You have a lot to add to this community. You have a really strong voice and you have a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of people here that have strong voices and knowledge, you know, but you've definitely taken upon yourself to create your own platform to let your voice be heard, and that takes a lot of courage because you're putting yourself out there. And it's hard to talk about have conversations like this, especially by yourself, because it makes people uncomfortable and you can get some negative backlash. And, you know, so I want to commend you on that because it takes a level of bravery and courage to do that. And just keep up the good work. We're all in this and we're all working towards the same goal. We're trying to, you know, promote equality in social injustice the best that we can, because we all recognize that that's for the greater good. That would benefit everybody if, you know, if we all we're all on an equal plane. So that being said, Heather, do you have anything else to say?
No, just everyone tune in, check us out. We're, here every single Saturday. Basically, we're, pre-recording this, but, every single Saturday, Conscious Community Connection is online. It's, I think, WRFU 104.5 .net. It's been a long time since I've been on recording. Y'all have to forgive me. I've been very busy, but yes, you can go online and view all the past recordings as well as future ones. We are trying to stream live due to all the pandemic and stuff like that. So we're trying to reduce our footprint, I guess, of the COVID-19 stuff. So yeah, just tune back in, you guys. Keep giving us the content that we need. I mean, if you need to contact us, you can email us. You can hit us up on Facebook. We do have a YouTube page as well. So yeah, we're trying to keep our ears to the streets, and we're trying to also empower more people and shine the light on the people that are in our community. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I don't know if you guys have anything else. We do have 1 minute.
Yeah. So anybody that you are searching for a place to get your name out in the community, whether or not you have a business or you're wanting to get more involved with activism, but maybe you have a role in the education system or maybe the public health district or anything like that. You feel like you have knowledge to give out here to the community and what we're going through right now. Please hit us up on one of our platforms. Let us know, and we'll interview you. And we'd love to spotlight you on here and get that knowledge out in the community. Because, like I said, anything that we can do that can promote us moving forward, we're all for it. So I really appreciate you guys for coming out and joining in. And we'll be back next week. We're going to be doing more interviews with people, like I said, with spotlights and, things like that. So, yeah, thanks for joining, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.